Well, Amber, thank you so very much for that amazing introduction. But clearly, being part of this crowd today, there are so many champions of early learning and birth to three investment and work and just collaboration. And I am so very privileged and honored to get to have the role as superintendent in a school district like U-46 and to have this opportunity. It's amazing to feel your energy and just to feel the commitment that we have to young learners. As Amber shared, I am in the community. I'm a second generation graduate of School District U-46, specifically Elgin High School. Yeah, I know. I recognize all the other schools as well, but it's like it happens when you've been there for 4 years and then you leave. You can't leave and not say East Side, Maroon Pride, right? Like all those things just roll, right? So, but I'm a second generation Maroon, and my children are third generation U-46 students. And so I, as Mayor Captain had suggested when he started speaking today, I am one of those many people from this area who has spent my entire lifetime here. I'm a second generation educator. I left to go to college and immediately came back and started teaching in U-46 at Canton Middle School. I have spent all 28 years of my career in U-46 because I feel so strongly about what we do and how we work together and the amazing things that we have done for students, that we're currently doing, but what that future is for our students in U-46. And I've had a lot of different roles in that time. My favorite role, as Amber though shared a little bit about, is actually as a parent, as a U-46 parent. And so my boys are 10. They are currently thriving fourth graders in the dual language program at Hilltop. But we weren't always as thriving. So I had this wonderful blessing of having twins, lots of stories, right, about multiples. And immediately, like so many of our parents, was like, wow, I've got to get in there and I got to start doing all of these things. And so I was coming to all of our events because I felt like I had insider info and it was going to be amazing. But my children are like everybody else's children, right? They learn and they grow and they're unique, and even though they were twins, and I was like, this is gonna be great, they're gonna do everything the same, no. But despite all of those pieces that I felt like I had access to, and as an educator I had info on, when they were 2, and I was filling out all of those developmental forms that every parent has to fill out, the reality was they weren't talking. My children had speech delays. They were communicating, but there was not a word. And so again, because I live in this tremendous community and there are resources within our school district and our community collaborators, and we have experts as long as we know how to access them, right? I could access that for my children. And it's been, again, it was remarkable to see the resources that we have, and I can speak to that in U-46, and I can speak to that with Easter seals, and I can speak to that with so many people in the community. But you have to have that access, and you have to be able to get to that. And you shouldn't have to be an educator to make sure that every child, that your children have the resources they need to be ready to go to school and to live the life that we want all of our kids to live. And so that's why this is so terribly exciting today, and while it is so near and dear to me, because that's what we want, and that's what I want as a parent, that's what I want as an educator, that's what I want as a community member in U-46. And so tremendous shout outs and recognition for the groups, for the work that we have been doing, the work we are doing, and the work we're gonna do. I said it when I first came in, I have to recognize Learning Tree. So celebration to our Learning Tree over here. I share that because I had talked up school so much for the boys. We went through the whole assessment and evaluation process with language, and then that wasn't one didn't need it at all, and I couldn't, like a parent, I couldn't figure out transportation for the other. But I had talked up school so much, I couldn't tell them they weren't gonna go to preschool. Like they would have been devastated. And so that's exactly what we did. So I share a little bit about my story because it connects. And I'm so just excited about our work. So here we are, right? We have this honor of helping our children and our community. Our youngest children become our future students. But we know that all that learning, so much of that learning and that early work happens with our families. Happens before our students make their way into one of our buildings. And that's the work that our young families, our child care providers, preschool programming, that's what everybody is working towards, that readiness for our students to enter kindergarten. And there is a direct correlation, right, between our students' long-term success, not only while they're in U-46, but when they graduate and they do remarkable things in this community or another, this carries on throughout their entire lifespan. The Colorado Department of Education uses this graphic, and it shows you a relationship, right, of how school readiness combined with that high-quality instruction leads to success throughout high school and beyond. So it's really looking at that collaboration and then that combination of those essential developmental foundational skills, that core content knowledge, what we want all of our students to know and do, and then this ever-changing, challenging world of 21st century skills, because every day there's new technology and there's something else that our students will need to do, right, to grow and to continue to thrive. Additionally, right, we, in Illinois, as we try to monitor how our students are going to be best prepared for that, across the state, our kindergartners are assessed on the 40th day of kindergarten. Can you imagine this? The 40th day of kindergarten, like clockwork, the entire state assessing all kindergartners. In the kids' assessment, it's the Kindergarten Individual Development and Readiness Survey. And it looks at few different developmental domains: physical, language and literacy, cognitive and mathematical thinking, social emotional, and approaches to learning. And when we look at this data, so as Amber has highlighted, we are constantly looking at the data and trying to identify how we are positively impacting our students and their readiness to learn. We see that that impact is not the same across all groups of students. Right? We still identify that there are portions of our population that do not have perhaps the same access and resource to see that impact as quickly as we would like. And so for our data, we see that it's our Hispanic students, our Black students, our Native American students. And that's important for us because that tells us where we need to identify more access to resources and more support. And that's why we're all here today. So as we think about that then, we start to actually backwards map that a little bit, right? Research tells us that one of the critical, most important components of being ready for school is whether or not a child has had the opportunity and has attended preschool. James Heckman, Nobel-winning economist, views quality early childhood education, now think about this, especially in today's world, get ready for what I'm about to say, as a better investment than the stock market. Well, yes, right? Invest in our kids. Please invest in our children. Experts have calculated that every dollar we spend on early childhood education gets us back an average of $4 and as much as $13 in the case of our students who have been underserved or potentially identified, right, as an at-risk child. That's a term that we really struggle with, and I struggle to identify that. No child should have that term or label. It's the investment piece. How do we make that investment? I think this is a given in today's world, right? Invest in our children. So in order to do that, though, and this is the work that we're taking on certainly in U-46 and across so many of our communities, we have to figure out how we're going to get access to pre-K to more of our students. So the data that we have up here shows you that essentially we don't have enough slots, as we refer to them, enough seats for all our students. In our community, based on the 2022 census, it shows that we have approximately 18,306 children under the age of 5 in the greater Elgin community. With approximately, and this varies a little bit because we have seen a little bit of a diminished enrollment, between 2,200 and 2,800 students in each age band. So totally, and if I go on the heavy side, about 9,000 preschool age eligible children. 2/3 of those children are eligible for publicly funded preschool. So our question or problem of practice is, how do we create more seats for more preschool students? And how do we remove barriers of getting students into those seats? Right? It's a challenge. Parents work. Preschoolers can't ride our big buses. So we have to think about how we do that. How do we get all of the kids to and from? And if it's a half-day program, what do we do after preschool with all of our children, right? So good news for us, this is definitely one of our goals across U-46 and our Unite U-46 efforts. And our Unite U-46 is our building and our facilities work. And we have a goal of increasing preschool opportunities within all of our elementary schools in the coming years. And in addition to that, we are collaborating with and supporting our preschool providers across our communities in their efforts to increase readiness. Because we can't do this alone. And that's why we're all here today, right? To identify what each one of us can do. What can our contributing piece to this be? To make sure that we have this reach. And the basics provides this unique opportunity for us to reach all of our families and our youngest learners beginning at birth. It has the potential to have a dramatic impact on their school and on their life readiness. And so, as we continue on today, we want to keep that spirit and keep that energy thinking about our connections, right? The first 5 years have so much to do with how the next 80 are going to turn out. And it will take all of our commitments, as it already has, to make sure that those first 5 years are amazing and they are ready, right, to be the learners and the thriving community members that we want them to be. So thank you so very much for the opportunity to be part of this tremendous event today and the work. Thank you.